Hello everybody and welcome back to another Minecraft tutorial. Today I'm going to be showing you how to build the chunk based slime farm, which is this thing that you see right here. Now at the moment we're in a void world, and the reason for that is to show off the maximum efficiency of this farm right here. However, this never used to be a void world. Once I'd identified where the slime chunk was, I built this farm and then removed all of the blocks around it with the exception of the bedrock at the bottom here, because of course if you're going to build this in survival you can't remove the bedrock, so the farm here does start at the correct height. So the efficiency of this farm is a huge improvement over the old designs, and the reason why is because the old ones used to use water to gather the slimes into a central location to be killed. And what I've decided to do with this is just use the slime's basic mechanics, which is to hop in one direction, and use that to not only kill the slimes but to reduce them from the larger ones into the smaller ones as well. As you can see, these guys are giving us a perfect demonstration of why this farm is so good. So the slimes are going to spawn, and they're the only mobs that can spawn in here because we're using jack-o'-lanterns which they can spawn on, and they provide enough light level all the way over here to where these hoppers are. Now they can also spawn on the hoppers, but hostile mobs could spawn on them if the light level was low enough, which they're not because of the jack-o'-lanterns. So when the slimes spawn, what they'll do is they'll pick a random direction provided that the player isn't close enough, and then they will just continuously hop in that direction until they hop all the way over here into the cactuses and die. Now you may be wondering if the drops can get killed by the cactuses. That is definitely plausible. However, it seems like the hoppers, as soon as the drops appear above them, suck them in straight away. And I've been doing tests and this farm seems very efficient. It seems like if there is a loss from the slimes going into the cactuses, that would be very low, so that is not really a problem. Now one thing that can slow down this farm a little bit is where the player is, but most of the time that's not going to be a problem. So if the player even is in the detection radius of the slime, then they're going to jump towards that player. So if I'm standing over here, guess what they're going to do? They're going to jump into the cactus. So the only real time that you can disrupt this farm is by standing directly above it, and then even then some of the layers down below, they're not going to be able to track you, and they're going to continue jumping into the corners where they hit the cactus, and then the hoppers will collect their drops. So this thing has been running for about 5 minutes now. You can see here we've got half a stack there. In fact, before I started cleaning this, before I started recording this, I had to clear out all of these hoppers. They were all backed up with stacks and stacks of this stuff where I've been doing lots of testing. So you can see that this farm design is very efficient. Now of course we are in a void world right now, which means that these have the optimal spawning conditions. The only place that slimes can actually spawn is inside our slime chunk right here. So as with all mob traps, what you'll know if you've already built one, or you might have heard someone else say, is that most of the time a good design is a good design, but the efficiency comes from the environment that it's in. So like with a mob trap, what you really need to do is focus on removing other spawnable places in the world. So if you are to build this, then it doesn't mean you're going to get as good as rates as what I'm getting, but one thing about this farm that I think is very good for building in a survival sense is that it's very fast. Every time a slime spawns, it's not long before they get downsized and killed, and also it's completely automatic. You can just leave it running. You could add a item elevator with droppers to the hoppers down the side here and send all of your items up to the surface, and basically once you've built this, it's zero maintenance. So this is a tutorial and we will get to that in a moment, but first of all I just wanted to talk about some of the design decisions that I had here, just in case you had any questions about it. So first of all, you do not need all of these jack-o'-lanterns in the middle here. These are just providing a large enough lighting level to all the spawnable areas, which are the jack-o'-lanterns and the hoppers as well, because mobs can spawn on top of them, and so they're there to stop hostile mobs spawning, and you don't need to have a whole patch like this in the middle. Now around the outside we have 2 rings of hoppers going around. The reason for this is because when the slimes go into these cactuses and they die, sometimes their drops fall onto the block behind. Now that is a low rate that do that, and so what you could actually do is remove all of those if you needed to save on iron. Now at the same time I've been doing some testing and I'm yet to see the drops fall all the way back here. It seems like this will catch all of the drops possible from the slimes. Now this farm, each layer is 5 blocks tall. As you can see here, you have the sand, the free cactus and the blocks on top, and you could technically make this 1 block smaller, and the way you would do that is by having your sand placed directly on top of the cactus, like so. But the reason that I decided not to do this is because it means that the roof will be 3 blocks tall. Now the largest slime is 2.5 blocks tall, and it means when they jump they're going to hit their head on the ceiling quickly and they're not going to jump as far, so it means that they will take longer travelling from the middle all the way over to one of the edges. So there is a way to place solid blocks between cactus, and if you know about that you may be wondering why we have these two rows of cactus. Well, first of all, the smaller slimes can actually go through the gap here, so that's why we have the cactuses at the back. But the reason that we don't use these snow blocks in between the cactus is because the large and medium slimes are larger than 1 block wide, which means if you have snow on either side, when they come over to the cactuses they'll always clip up against the snow, and the cactus being slightly smaller they won't actually touch it. So that means that medium and large slimes can't get killed in this farm, which is pretty self-explanatory why we don't use that. So for those of you who don't know how slimes spawn into this world, there are two ways in which they can do that. They can spawn into slime chunks, which is what we have right here, and that's what this farm takes advantage of, and the other way is spawning in swamps. So in a swamp they can spawn between levels 50 and 70, and they can do that in a light level of 7 or below, but when they spawn in regular slime chunks like this one right here, they can spawn in any light level, which is very useful for this farm because it allows us to determine that only slimes can spawn here and not hostile mobs. Now the way that a chunk that has the ability to spawn slimes is determined is through an algorithm. So that means that random chunks in your world will have the ability to spawn slimes, and the way that we're going to find that out is by using an external program. So this is where the tutorial starts. We will start off by using this program and use it to figure out where a slime chunk is in our world. So this is the app right here. It's called Slime Finder and it's on a website called chunkbase.com. Now there'll be a link to this page in the description box down below, but when you've loaded this up here you can see there is a box called seed which you can input the seed of your world into. Now if you don't know what the seed of your world is, what you can also do is load from save, and what that's going to do is allow you to upload the level.dat from your world folder, and then from there it can determine the seed and generate the map for you. So then you can click on find slimes and it will generate a fresh map for you, and you can see here, if we have a basic look at this, we have the X at the top and the Z on the left, and so they're the coordinates in the world. It gives you the coordinates at the top. You can see it goes from 0 to 16 to 32, so they're the coordinates in game using the XYZ that you get by pressing F3. And so as you can imagine, all of the green chunks right there are your slime chunks. So that's how we're going to be able to determine where they are and how we're going to be able to get the coordinates for those slime chunks. Then down the bottom here we've also got a little meter that you can use to scale. This will zoom in and out for the app right there, so you can make it a lot smaller and see a lot more of the slime chunks in your world. Now also, if you want to jump to a particular location, let's say your base is 1,000 blocks away from spawn, then you can type in the coordinates at the bottom there, and then you can click on go and it will take you to those coordinates on the map. And so basically what you're going to be doing here is figuring out where you want to build your slime farm. So you're going to pick out the chunk, and then you're just going to write down the coordinates that appear on the x-axis and the z-axis as well. So this next part of the tutorial is where I have all of the convenience. I've used MCEdit to remove, and you can even see we've got slime spawning down here already. I've used MCEdit to remove all of this space right here so that I have more than enough space to build the gold farm. Now if you're thinking of doing this and building the full size gold farm, then you are going to need to dig out a large amount of space, not as big as this though. And if you're only thinking of building one layer because you don't need a lot of slimes, then maybe you don't need to come all the way down here to bedrock because your base might be on the surface, and it might be easier just to build it closer to where you are. So as long as you build your first layer under Y40, then you'll be okay. But if you're planning on building the full farm, then you want to come all the way down here to bedrock, and that's at Y level 5 as you can see here on the left. So using the application you should have noted down the coordinates for where your slime chunk are. I've already done that, and the coordinates were between 16 and 32 for both X and Z, which is why I picked it, because it's nice and easy. We're using the same numbers. And if you have a look past the X over to where it says C1 and then it has 3 in brackets, that is where we are inside chunk number 1. We're on the 3rd block, so if we move in this direction we can move over, and so that's how we determine what chunk we are in. So we need to come over to the edge, we need to grab something like a torch and find 0, and we need to find that on the Z as well. So if we move to the left, you can see here is 0, 0. So that's that block right there. So what we want to do is make some sort of indicator that this is the corner of the chunk. So I'll just place down a load of torches. Now obviously you'll be doing a lot of digging at this point, and then we'll head over to where the other corner is, and we need to find 15 and 15, which is now what I'm standing on. So it's this one right here, and just place down a load of torches to mark that out. And then the next thing you'll need to do is to clear all of this area. So from this corner to that one over there, you need to remove all of the blocks. So I need to correct myself there. I was saying that we need to dig from this corner here all the way over to the other corner. That's not true. We also need to dig 2 blocks out around the whole outside, because that's going to be the spawning area for slimes, and then on the outside here we're going to have our hoppers and our cactus as well. So that's going to be a 20 by 20 area that you're going to be digging out. Now, as well as this, I said we were looking for a chunk between 16 and 32. That's the numbers that the program gives us. However, the edge of the chunk is actually 31 and the next chunk is 32. So that's why we use the C number, you can see there C2 and the numbers in brackets, to figure out where the edge of the chunk is. So after editing this video, I thought it would be a good point here to intervene and let you know how many materials you actually need to build each layer, because there is quite a lot, as you can see here. So for the blocks that are going to be placed on the outside, you're going to need 65 building blocks and 66 blocks of sand, and then for the platform in the middle you'll need 128 building blocks and 16 jack-o'-lanterns. And as well as that, there's going to be 146 hoppers, as you can see here, and 198 cactus, so a hell of a lot of materials needed to build each layer of this. So now we can move on to actually building the farm, and the first thing we're going to do is build the spawning platform. Now what we have right here isn't all of the spawning platform. We're going to be placing down some hoppers that are going to be part of it, but these are your basic blocks in the middle. And so some of these are jack-o'-lanterns, some of these are normal blocks, but slimes can spawn on all of them. So you can see here I put down more torches. These are just highlighting the edges of the chunk, and so for the spawning platform that we have here, what you want to do is go to the edge of your chunk, move in by 2 blocks and then up by 1, and that will be where your spawning platform is. So earlier in the video I also said that you didn't need jack-o'-lanterns for the whole thing, and so to provide enough light to stop hostile mobs spawning you need 3 blocks between each jack-o'-lantern. And you can see here, due to the size of the platform, it means that one of the gaps is just going to be 2 blocks, so that's why that looks like that. So the next thing for us to do is place down all of our hoppers. We're going to have 2 hoppers, or 2 rows of hoppers on the outside, so that's going to take up this block space and this one going around the whole outside, and they're going to lead over to one side where we're going to send those drops out to the edge where we can pick them up with an item elevator or a chest or something like that. So we need to figure out where that is first of all. So if we just grab a block like this, let's go out 1, 2, 3. So 3 blocks out from this corner, and then you want to come down by 1 block and another, and then this block right here, this can be your chest or your dropper for your item elevator. And then what you want to do is place 2 hoppers facing into it, and then a hopper up here facing down, and then all your other hoppers need to face into this one. So if we do this like that, then all of those are leading into it on the edge here. We can place that one facing into that one as well, and so these will just go all the way to the back over there, and then on this side all we need to do is face our hoppers into these 2 here, and then wherever the items fall into the hoppers, they're all going to make their way down into this bit over here. So now all of those hoppers are in place, as you can see, and we've got more hoppers to place down now as well. What we need to do is go around the outside and place them in certain positions. So you see where this one is here, leave a gap, place another one, keep doing that going all the way around the outside like this. And so then that will continue off in that direction. And over on this side what you want to do is leave a gap, so you're not going to place it on this hopper, you're going to place it on this one here. So it's going to look like that, and then that's going to go all the way over to this corner, and it's going to go around the corner as well, all the way down to the other end. So I've finished placing all of the hoppers. This corner is now done. You'll see that this one is the same as the corner that we started at. That's the one with our dropper or chest, and then these 2 corners are going to look different. That is normal. And what we need to do next is to place blocks on the outside of where the hoppers are. So wherever there's a space outside a hopper, we place a block. So there, like this, all on the outside of these hoppers. And once you place down those building blocks, you just want to put sand on top of them so it looks like this. And then if we head over to this side, you'll see that we've got the hoppers down here. So we'd have blocks like this on either side. We'd have our sand above it. All you need to do at this point is just place the sand directly above the hopper. So the next thing to do, can you guess it, is to place down all of that cactus. All of this needs to be 3 blocks high like so. And you just need to do that going all the way around the outside on all of these sand blocks. So that is one layer of the cactus farm complete right there. You don't actually need to do anything else to this. Now if you want to start building another layer on top of it, then you're going to have to place blocks on top of your cactus like this, and then you're going to be putting sand on top of the cactus like so, and then from there you can figure out you're basically building the same thing all over again. So your spawning platform is going to be at this height here, level with the sand. Then you're going to be placing your jack-o'-lanterns up at this level as well. You need to place a block underneath them to place them. If I try and place it on the side of this, you'll see it doesn't place until we have a block underneath it like that. And so from this point here you continue just repeating the tutorial that I've done there and building layer upon layer on top of each other. So if you are planning on building more layers of this farm, then the most you can build is 7. There's 7 here that I've built. And if we go up to the top here, you can see the level of this platform is Y37. So if we were to build another platform, which would be 5 blocks higher, that would be at Y42, which is above where the slimes can spawn. So now I think it would be a good idea to do a test, because this is in a fresh world. I haven't gone caving. It's not a void world. You know, there's tons of other places where slimes and other mobs can spawn. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of rates we get from this. Now I think I'm going to make it daytime just to give it a bit of a boost, because if it was nighttime there'd be more mobs on the surface taking up the spawn cap. So I'm going to dig my way up to the top and do a little bit of an AFK test. So the day has passed. I've been AFK here for most of the day, so let's go down and have a look. Now the droppers are on this side over here, so let's see, what have we got? 30, that is pretty good actually. That was more than I was expecting. We've got 35 in that one there. Then we have 9 in this one, 17. This one down here we got 5, and then 7, and then none in the bottom one. It seems like down here was too far away for the player for the slimes to spawn, but you can see there, even with a small test, we've got over a stack of slimes, which is pretty good for this farm. And bear in mind, this world is pretty much unconditioned. The surface hasn't been lit up, even though we did our test in the day. The caves haven't been lit up, and that's some of the things that you can do to make this more efficient. So if you go caving, you'll be removing lots of hostile mob spawns, which means it's more likely for your slimes to spawn. Now another thing that you can do that can increase the efficiency of a farm like this is remove other slime chunks in the area. So that could be digging out all of the blocks in the spaces that they can spawn, or just going around and placing down half slabs. And that is a hell of a lot of work and probably not worth it for a farm like this, but it would increase the efficiency because slimes can spawn in any light level. So where you'd go around and you'd do your torching, if that was inside a slime chunk, then the slimes would still be able to spawn there. So that is actually it for this tutorial. If you have watched it this far, then I want to say thank you very much for watching. It took a lot of time and effort to put this video together. There were 141 outtakes that I decided to delete because I like to make my tutorials as clear as possible. But I am very happy with this farm, and I'd really like for it to reach a lot of people, as I think this could be a new standard for slime farms. So if you want to give this video a like, it is greatly appreciated, and it helps increase the ranking of the video, which means more people will be able to find it. But there is a download link in the description box for this world right here if you'd like to just download it, have a look and see how it is when it's running in a void world. And other than that, I want to say thank you for watching, and I will catch you next time.